feels like everything I say now might be construed as like hate speech almost. And I'm like, what did I say? You know what I mean? Like what I would, the funny thing is I said to some of the people which were asked me to take it down, it's like, we thought we were being inclusive. We actually were trying to be controversial in what we were saying. I didn't think there was anything we said that was really controversial. My point was like, why are we taking somebody so small and making it a bigger one? I said, why can't we just incorporate everybody together?
Welcome back, everybody. This is the DC Talks podcast with David Chinelli. I'm your co-host, Agent Double Olusinde. As you can tell, it's summer right now. DC's rocking his fire jacket. I got my striped shirt, and we're ready to have an amazing discussion. One of the things that we've been not noticing, but it's been happening with the past couple of years is thinking for yourself has been looked down upon. You have to abide to what everybody's thinking, and if you don't follow the crowd, you are now labeled as radical because you have a different opinion. So today's conversation, we're going to be diving deep into why is that and what we can do about it, but still be authentic at the same time. So
I guess we're pretty radical.
We're pretty radical, you know? So DC, why does thinking for yourself feel pretty dangerous in this time and space that we're in right now?
I just think that some people are, this whole thing about feelings and stuff, it's bombarding even sometimes common thought, and I find that like, everyone, don't get me wrong, I think everyone needs to be acknowledged for their thoughts. I think it's not that, but I find that it's just sometimes a small majority, if you're not conforming with them, will speak out and get canceled. It's happened in Hollywood, it's happened in everyday lives, businesses, to us, and I find that just like the individuality is no longer relevant enough. Like you're not allowed to speak, anything against what the narrative is. And if you do, you're labeled as either crazy or you're labeled as radical, right-wing, like misogynist,
sexist.
I don't know how many times I called misogynist for something that I said. I'm like, how's that misogyny?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people use the buzzwords because it gets traction. Mm-hmm. But I ask them, do you know what that word means? Sometimes you're not actually using that correctly. Mm-hmm. And it's just not even that word, misogyny, other words as well. So I find it's dangerous in the sense that we are going down a slippery slope where we're almost conforming to one we are that have one opinion, which is very controversial, right? Like it feels like that's, I use this as an example, like communism, right? Like we had, when I did my MBA, we had exchange students that were like, obviously there was and exchange students bring in more money, so they double the price. Of course, universities want to do that, right? So we had a certain amount of Chinese, proper Asian, Russian, Chinese international students. And a friend of mine had, I told you the story now before. So our first year, our first trimester we call, so we had an integrated core. So our MBA was 12 months training. It was really it was 2 years crammed into 1 year. So basically 16 months crammed into 12. And the first first trimester, we did an integrated core, which was you had all of your business classes, because not everybody doing their MBA has a business background. I did, but not everybody did, right? So they try to get everybody on the same level. So they brought integrated core, and you had 8 classes throughout the week, like you had 2 each day, you would switch, or something else. But everybody got broken into teams to work with, and you had to stick with the first trimester, you had to stick with those teams and do presentations. And I remember a friend of mine, a lot of us had like an international student with us. A lot of us, there was a number of them that we had Chinese international students. Our international student was fantastic in the sense that she's very articulate. She was like English wasn't her first language, but her English was pretty good. Like her writing skills were great, right? Turns out they're all the same, right? We found out afterwards there was some people scamming. We heard about how they got into the school. And there was one of my friends had an international student with her who didn't speak basically a lick of English. Barely got a word. His name was Morgan. Barely got a word of Morgan. So the first, and I'm getting to something. So the first project we had to do. So you divide and conquer, right? So there's topics of you take this, you take this. So my friend, her name is Brooke. Brooke gave Morgan this little topic. She goes, listen, you don't speak as well English. This is pretty easy. Just go and do this portion of it, and we'll bring it all together as part of the instruction. Blah, blah. So he sends it to her, all this weird stuff, and it's in beautiful prose, like amazing English, all the stuff she's like, but looking back and like, there's nothing cited. Back in those days too, like even now, you have to cite everything. If you're quoting from somebody, we basically, I don't know if it's still around though, but back in 2003, yeah, but you had to cite stuff because, and then we had a program which you would send an electric document to, and they see if there's any plagiarism. If any of you guys were caught plagiarizing, you were kicked out of the program. No questions answered by us, right? So he sends us this stuff, and it's beautiful, right? It's great. And she goes, Morgan, I love this. Like, this is amazing work. Can you please show me your sources? So he sends a link. He basically just copied and pasted it and put it in there. Didn't change it. She's like, you can't do that. You're like, well, we're all going to get kicked out. He's like, but I understand. In China, that's what we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to take something your own font. This is how we did our classic. We read it, we copy, we paste. Copy. That's what he was saying. Now, that's what he told us. Don't shoot the messenger. That's what he goes. But they didn't, because in a communism, you have to have one thing. And this is what we say. Everybody has to think exactly the same thing. You see a problem with that, right? And I was just one example. I almost got my friend all kicked out, even though they're good students this time too, because thank God she asked to check his work. But yeah. Anyway, I think we're leading down a road. Like, we have to be very, very careful. No, I don't think we're going to communism anytime soon. But having this same mind think stuff is very dangerous to me. I think it's very dangerous. I always said about our program we do, we can't call it our show. I hate calling it a program, it's not a program anymore. Our show, we'd like to push the narrative. I like people to think. I want people to say, I don't agree with you. But I also want people to say, I don't agree with you, but we can still be friends about it, right? Let's have an open conversation. The name calling, all that stuff too, is just, I think it's just childish. It doesn't, you call me misogynist, an asshole, crazy fool. People still bring up the flat earth conversation, which we literally quoted for people. We was like a year and a half. Yesterday I had to block somebody. All my posts is like, well, how does this fit into flat earth theory? You're the flat earther, aren't you? And I'm like, are you serious? He's just trying to go into stuff. I'm like, what is your problem?
Is he like a local guy?
I have no idea who he is.
We just found the video from back then, and he's been posting that for.
Yeah, so like, I don't have time or energy for that.
Yeah.
If you want to have a discussion, I said, listen, and Elise edited a video for me, which she had to edit some things out. Thanks, Elise. Because could have gotten me in trouble again. But I basically said, I respond to people. I had a friend of mine, we talked about that one topic, which was the abortion topic. And I was having a whole conversation, like, listen, I appreciate your stance on this. This was my stance. I'm not belittling your stance. I understand that some people. That's not what I believe. I'm sorry, like, we can agree to disagree. No, she won't talk to me. Like, we're in the same brokerage. She won't talk. She won't even look in my same direction.
So from that one podcast,
that's right.
She's now categorized you as someone who's not worthy of a conversation just because you did not think the way she thought.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
Like shit, of course. But then I thought about it the other way.
Moving on from that,
but then I thought about it the other way, and I said, I changed my thought. And if the world is pushing you against something, God always told us you can be in this world but not out this world. If people are getting so offended, like, it's nothing like it's quoting stuff, I'm saying for one thing, I'm like, if it's truth, and you're not like the truth because it doesn't fit into your own reality, then I'm doing God's work. So I changed my thought. It still sings you a little bit. It makes you see the stuff. You're just like,
does it jade you a little bit? Like, where now you're becoming a lot more filtered subconsciously? Do you know?
Of course.
Okay. Because you want to be authentic at the end of the day. But when you hear these remarks that someone has not changed their stance for that long, you're like, maybe I should conform just so I can be liked and keep the peace. I can see that as a struggle. And
well, I've had people unfollow me that won't talk to their coach, like, the teacher, and we were talking about like this transgender, and he was bringing back in the gay community stuff, and it was all this stuff. It was like, you do know I have gay friends. I'm like, you know what? I said to him, I still love you. I'm like, listen, you can understand, we can disagree on this, but you know I still love you. And like, I'm not talking about gay passion. And like, he was bringing in like how somebody has murdered. I'm like, what does that have to do with this post? And there was all this rhetoric going back, and I just said, he goes, well, you're not talking back because you don't fight. I'm like, no, because I don't understand what we're arguing about. And from that point forward, it just distanced himself. It was fine. It is what it is. But I was like, I didn't know what we were arguing And I just find that people they read into something that matters to them, which we're not even saying. And I found that there's a problem. They're like I'm always open for open discussion, right? You can choose not to like or watch my show or our podcast, but I don't think we've said anything here which would be totally controversial in my opinion, because it's, we're quoting from people, we're saying what we're feeling, and even sometimes stuff which we don't think is controversial becomes controversial because it's how we feel. Like, well, how does one person get allowed to say something as long as it's with some sort of demographic that they're allowed to talk about it? But if I say something which is conservative, that doesn't fit here, I can get canceled. That bothers me a little bit.
When did you notice there was a shift in culture where things have to be this way, and if you're not aligned, then you are now a radical?
COVID. That was a huge eye opener. Like, I've been into conspiracy theories for a long time, 2009, I think. Yeah, that's where I became Christian. And I tried to push the narrative, like I had to push against the narrative back then, but it wasn't many people. I understood back then people didn't think about it. But when I saw stuff in front of people, like with COVID and like all the people getting jabbed and getting injuries and how they're hiding it and how they're manipulating it, people still refused to want to believe, even though the stats are showing them. They just wanted to believe their own narrative and that it didn't matter. That's why I knew it was a big shift. I'm like, holy crap! Like, it's like I can show a whole bunch of evidence. Still not what I don't want to believe. And they would use that. And then you start hearing the same rhetoric over and over, like, where's the source? What's the source? Well, science. Well, now we're showing science to show how the jab is not good for you. And it's like, well, I can still save people's lives. I'm like, well, where's the stats for that? I want to see your study. You're telling me to follow science. Science is supposed to be like asking questions. When I do ask questions, you just tell me to follow science. But science is part of asking the question. So I found the whole thing, there was a definite shift. And there's been a lot. I'm not saying it for myself. I had a conversation with my friend Rosalie, which my brother's ex-girlfriend, and was a cousin with her. Like, they don't talk anymore because of what happened during COVID, because their ideas were so different. And I just saw this shit that the people were literally like, they just years later still not talking. And that was a huge shift.
Recently, something has happened to you where you shared an opinion, which was your opinion, and you spoke about a specific group, and it didn't resonate with some people.
We talked about a couple of groups, but to be fair,
yes. And we spoke about many different groups, cultures, sexual orientation, and when we shared those pieces of content out, they got reported. It got to your employer, right? And you felt the consequences. You felt censored, more so. Walk me through that, because we've been talking about these things for the past, now going on 2 years, and now we reached the tipping point where the team that you're working with has to be like, Dave, you've got to not post these anymore.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we're discussing this, everybody. So, we saw what happened, but we're actually talking about it in real time right now.
Yeah.
What up?
Sorry, my. So this is what happens when you're working and trying not to talk podcast.
Exactly. So yeah, walk me through that, because now it feels like we're being censored.
Yeah, it feels like everything I say now might be construed as like hate speech almost. And I'm like, what did I say? You know what I mean? Like the funny thing is, I said to some of the people which were asked me to take it down, I was like, we thought we were being inclusive. We actually were trying to be controversial in what we were saying. I didn't think there was anything you said that was really controversial. And at least made it sense. She goes, yeah, but you mentioned something and something right in which it wasn't with the narrative. And I was like, my point was like, why are we taking somebody so small and making it a bigger one? I said, why can't we just incorporate everybody together? I thought we were trying to be inclusive. And I thought we talked about
We
that.
spoke about the flag being inclusive, but you're just pledging allegiance to the Canadian flag and not the sexual orientation flag.
Right. So I know I don't want to get taken down for this too, but I really want to go down that path and say that. But it was one of those things that I know, but I almost want to say, like, I thought we were, because I'm not included, right? Anyway, long story short is that I felt like, yeah, being censored is like, what do I say now? Like, what am I allowed to talk about my own show, which I pay for? On my own private account, which they don't have the account. I'm like, we talked about the flag, even changing, like, even the national anthem. A lot of people, some people got offended by that too. I can't believe, like, the most people agree with what we saw.
TikTok people are agreeing with you. Like, I think
There's a couple of people that say they didn't, but yeah, but most people, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the numbers, when we put those posts up, the reason it's so controversial is because it's actually hitting people. It's striking a nerve with people like, wow, I feel hurt, I feel validated, because you are now taking a risk to actually creating your own platform and saying these things, and now people feel like, wow, somebody has the courage to say what I'm thinking, and I'm glad that this person is doing that.
Why, there's a lot of
using the
backlash.
voice of the people too.
There was a lot of backlash when I told everyone things got deleted and removed, and it was like, you can see, like, one interesting. So, some of my friends said, like, when we did our anniversary at the 60th anniversary, like, wow, like, you're being authentic, you're true. Like, it was like, you're saying stuff I wish I could say. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, there's no one stopping you. Like, well, I'm just worried. They're always worried about what other people would say rather than too. And I was like, and so, I think that was the issue, right?
Yeah, as you're doing that, as well too. Like, I think in certain communities, also in the Black community too, when you're also questioning the norm, when you're actually talking about things that are going against the popular narrative, that are not fitting the monolith. There's also that side of things where people can also feel as if that you are now being radical. If you call something out and it's possibly questioning bad behavior, now you're just called like an Uncle Tom, you're called all these different things.
Yeah.
And it creates like this environment where you can actually just be yourself. Like, we don't always have.
But I also think the problem is like so many of our leaders also haven't been strong where they should be strong. Mm-hmm. In the sense that, and I don't know if you're talking about, like, I'm not just talking about our prime ministers. I'm talking about like our church leaders. Mm-hmm. There was somebody before, it's like talking about, like, it was say, like, I was watching this guy, was it Charlie Kirk said it? Where he's like, it's a problem when Donald Trump is talking about abortion and saying how he's against it when your pastor's not. And he's like, so why is Donald Trump talking about stuff which is spiritual and your own pastor's getting scared? He's like you're talking about politics stuff too, like 100 politicians talking about stuff which is spiritual, but your own leader of your church won't talk about it because he wants that followers, wants that many people in there too. He's not doing the will of God. Mm-hmm. So that's it. We have a big problem with our leaders in this world. Am I a leader? No, I'm saying that. I would love to be. Like, I'm trying to lead people to think and to be outside the box and stop believing what everybody says. Make some decision for yourself and stand by them and understand where it's coming from. Formulate an opinion based on research. Not how you just feel all the time. Like, that drives me nuts. Like, just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you're right. You can feel however you want, but it doesn't mean that it makes you right. Right? Yeah. You can be offended as much as you want. It doesn't mean you're right. I like that quote beforehand, right?
So how did you build a real confidence in having, what's the word I'm looking for? The firmness in your beliefs and actually being able to speak them like the way you speak about them, because nobody has the courage and confidence like you. Like, where did that come from to actually have that, you know what, even though I'm going against the grain, I'm still going to say what I want and I don't care what comes with it until now. But how did you build that inside yourself to be able to just freely speak and share your thoughts about flat earth that we spoke about, and talk about abortion, all these different types of subjects, because people are trying to find that confidence in themselves to be able to not just be on camera, but also be around their friends and family to be able to speak their mind. I'd like for you to share that as well too, like in terms of having that courage to do so.
What, how do I do it?
How did that confidence come when you do?
Over time, like, first off, you know me, I don't shut up. So it wasn't something that was, I've always been told, like, stop talking, right? I've always shared my opinion. I think it was a younger age kind of turned around. So when I had this spot, we started talking about how with, the brain surgery that I had and all that, and we saw a spike of people who were actually interested in that. And I thought, okay, so let's start talking about more stuff. So that kind of gave you the more of the push to go forward, and when people started resonating with me. In the beginning, I was kind of always worried that people may not resonate well because of what I'm saying. I'm worried about my business. But then I thought maybe the courage came from God. Maybe like what I was pushing forth when I started to talk more about things that were relevant. My business didn't go down; actually went up. I got more involvement. I thought that was a little more encouraging, and people were also seeing and agreeing with me. I also had a lot of people push back, but those were people that maybe I don't want to deal with anyway. So I just felt that like sometimes people just were being marginalized and they had no voice. Right? That's why we had the abortion topic. I don't think people like, I think men that are Christians that get marginalized because, well, you don't have uterus. I'm like, they don't know the position I was in. I almost had a position where I had a girl that told me she was pregnant and told me this story. And it hurt me. Like, she wasn't pregnant. She was using it over me because I was trying to get out of a relationship, and she was like very manipulative, like bad, right? To the point, well, she was telling us she was pregnant. Like, so instead of me saying, well, we want the babies, like our family gathered together. My dad's like, no, like if it's our blood. If that child is born, we will 100% go up. 100% custody is going to be part of us. It is your blood. It is your. That's true. And it's a Chanel baby. Exactly. Like, so that formulated my thoughts on that thing. And I was like, I don't think. And I kept seeing about these women rights, and you can't say anything because you're a man. And I was like, well, that's not fair, because we are part of the equation, right? Like, I just felt we had to speak out a little bit. So, and when I got a lot of backlash to that because of what, but it did tarnish my business. And it was like, actually, we talked. It was an open talk, and so I thought that was a risk. And again, maybe we shouldn't have talked about that for business because I'm a realtor. What the hell do I know? But I am a Christian man who had some thoughts of like which nobody talked about. Like, nobody was sitting on our side. I was like, nobody was agreeing with me. And then all of a sudden I see like some guys are talking here. Everything scientific you've said before is not come true about the flat earth. I'm like, okay, well, nothing about the globalists there is a right either. Like, there's nothing to prove it. Just because we're taught in school doesn't mean it's true. And actually, if you look at, there's more scientific things that there's not a global. Can you present to me the scientific way how the global makes sense of the terms of too? And then we'll talk. And I thought, well, I will believe the Bible. I believe God's word. And I'm like, why don't you just, in this especially Catholic, I said, why don't you just pray on it? He goes, no, I'm okay. No, I'm not going to pray on it. I'm like, then I can't help you. He was just so adamant against God, and that was the problem. It was like, if you have somebody against the position, you don't want to open up and talk about God. Well, I can't help you. I have another friend of mine who's a very brilliant guy, and he was saying, like, again, we talk about flat earth, he's just an atheist. He just doesn't want to, like, even though, like I said, the smartest man in the world has admitted that Jesus existed, and he was on this earth, and you can prove it, he just won't admit to it. It's just like, no, I just don't believe there's anything there. Okay, that's your opinion. Like, you have more faith than I need to think that all of this came out of nothing like this, whereas I believe there had to be a creator, somebody to put this stuff together. You have more faith than me. And I'm like, I think it just doesn't make sense. But that's your opinion. I'm like, but we're still friends. I went to high school, we're graduating together, San Squinta, very smart. I'm like, okay, that's your opinion. Like, you're not changing me and I'm changing you. Well, we're very cordial.
In a discourse.
Of course. Yeah. I'm also not, I'm not the expert. That kind of asked me the class. I was like, I'm not an expert. Did you watch the episode? We kind of quoted for people. It's such a, like the giant, like, it's not facts. It's like literally at the end of the day, it's like, we were quoting from what people say. I am more of a flat earther 100% because I believe in God. I believe in what the Bible has said. And I just, at the end of the day, I just don't believe the global theory.
And open your eyes.
But that's, when you actually looked at the global theory of what they were saying to her, my buddy said that to me, is like, this we're kind of struck. It's not clear. It's like, what's the difference? Like, what do you care?
You still gotta wake up, pay the bill.
Right, exactly. It didn't matter. Yeah. So I was saying, so we started talking. He goes, if you could do some research what the globalists actually say about there. He just didn't, things just weren't making sense. Like, you know, if we're fully aimlessly in the earth and are all over the place, like, why are the stars in this position? Like, oh, that's interesting. You know, things like that. Like, why is there so many people who go there? There's no curvature. Why are there flying planes where people aren't down there? Like, when you look at, like, so certain things are just, even like the UN map looks like a flat earth. Like, there's so many things going on. We're just like, huh? I never looked at it from the globalists. We just assumed what they always said was accurate. So we never asked them about, well, has this been scientifically proven? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people, they don't want to believe in the flat earth stuff because this is what they've been taught in school.
Dissonance.
Well, even when somebody said, like, well, how do you know the earth was rolled? We're like, well, it's pictures. I'm like, well, actually, NASA said the pictures were, well, photoshopped and all together to make, and the guy said it's called blue marble. And he's like, we altered them to perceive what we thought that were the people wanted to see the earth looks like. It wasn't actually a picture. And they actually say on the website of NASA, say this is not a real picture. And I was like, this is messed up.
And when you say this, what do they say? Like, when you show them, they're like, whoa,
bro, they don't have anything to say, really. It's like, I'm like, Google it right there. So, and I said that to the other fan. He's like, well, the pictures are true. They just don't believe that. Why would NASA alter it? I'm like, well, and then anyway, we get into all that stuff. But there's a lot of hurt back there. You know, there's a lot of hurt.
How much do you think the internet had to play a part in this? Because have people always thought like this, or is it the phone that just gave us exposure to what people are thinking, and it just became that way? Like, because
Well, the phone has been a huge issue because now everybody, first of all, they're keyboard warriors, which feel like everybody that has, everyone has a voice and everything, even though they stand behind it. And like, we've seen these keyboard bandits, like, first people to kill themselves, is that they just get some sort of sense of power, which is not even real, right? So, yeah, the internet's had a huge portion of it. Like, there's been a lot of misinformation as well on the internet, and you'd assume that they've always said to us that it was the problem. Our species hasn't evolved is because, to a certain point, it's because we were lacking knowledge. Now we have all the knowledge of the world at our fingertips, to the point where kids don't even need to go to school. They can actually online learn. Like, I didn't know this was possible. Our old babysitter was now like teaching astrophysics, where she was just a regular B student, C student, and now because she's able to focus things online, is now she's like a genius talking for TikToks and for Microsoft and hundreds of thousands of people within a year, because she went online and delved and learned more stuff online that she did in the classroom. And like, so we have all this potential to have knowledge that we're getting on. Right? We know that things can be calculated on your phone, but don't know how to put the formulas in, right? I find that the internet is a big problem.
What's one belief you hold that goes against the grain and you refuse to let go of it?
One thing I definitely go against the grain. God, you're gonna get in trouble for this, aren't you?
So I'm gonna chat this.
Well, so first off, I believe Jesus Christ is the Lord and Savior. I don't care what the Muslims say. I believe He is God, and sure, I believe that. Another thing against the grain, I believe the Bible is not just a book. I believe there's historical fact. It doesn't make sense how 40 plus men can get together, write the same word. That makes sense that people can come together and have the same prose spanning over 1,500 years. The Bible is more than just a book. Okay? And it tells all the story about God and why Jesus is God. There's historical facts in it which have been true, which have been proven in the Bible. By science. The Bible has been proved by science to be accurate. We're finding things in the Dead Sea. We're finding where Moses struck the mountain where water came out. We're finding where all the bodies were buried from Herod with the little children. We're finding giants. We're petrified giants. That's right. They found the Ark of the Covenant, and they found that the blood sample had 24 chromosomes, 23 from the mother, only one from the father, which shows you that Jesus' blood was special. It was not exactly 46 chromosomes, which the normal people have. Like, I don't believe in killing babies at any age. I don't give a shit what it is. I don't like, so I can go on and on and on. I believe in the traditional marriage of man and woman does together. I believe one of the reasons why we have so many problems in the States is because of absent fathers. I believe that a lot of crimes, I believe a lot of parents need to step up and teach your kids more at home than sending your kid to school to learn shit, what you should be teaching them at the house. I also believe the degradation of society also happened because men don't know how to take care of their kids. There's no more home ec, no more shop in schools. I also think that we become such pussies in this world because everybody's going to win a fucking ribbon. So no, we're not created equal. These are all the things I'm thinking. We're not created for a reason. We're not supposed to be equal. There are less smart people that do things that aren't smart people. Doesn't mean you are worth less because of your intelligence. Also, your gender. Men and women have different functions. Doesn't mean one is superior to the other. I disagree. I think women are much more superior to us. We can never give birth. I think that's a miracle which we will never experience. Ever have a growing human being in our body is a miracle. And I don't think people understand how beautiful that is.
It's a gift.
It's a gift, which men can never do. I don't care what genders you say. Men can never do that. That is something that women can do that we can never, ever do. And I think that's sacred and that's beautiful.
Last question. What is the emotional cost of being someone who goes against the grain?
Every party you're at, people talk about you. And and sometimes you always have to be armed to ask your opinions about stuff too. A lot of people watch the shows and they're and also I worry about my mother too and saying what is your son doing? Again, because
these are the things you think about.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, my kids and stuff. I think about life too. But nothing I say I don't 100% believe. It's just not popular. And I'm okay.
Outside of you, speaking holistically, do you think going against the grain is going to limit your opportunities economically?
I thought in the beginning it would, but I think there's a lot of like-minded people that agree with and say that would disagree with that and say, no, this is you're saying what we believe. So at the beginning I was worried about that. I'm no longer worried about that.
I see. Any closing reflective words that you want to leave with the audience?
I think mostly it would be one is that you are a unique person, you have different perspectives. Don't let somebody else's opinion overshadow who you are and what you believe. It's your core. You are, but also don't shut somebody else down because it doesn't agree with what you believe in. Listen to them. But just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean their opinion should be shut down.
Amazing. We're living in a very different world. And right now we have to teeter that point where people are hurt out there and what you say is going to hurt them and they're going to lash at you. So take that in, factor that in what you're about to say. And but still remain authentic because you are authentic, you are different, we're all different, we're all supposed to think and see things the same way. That's what makes life very interesting is because we all have different backgrounds and ideas and we also have to honor that at some level. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think. Give us some anecdotes and stories of things that have happened to you where you felt silenced because you were going against quote unquote the grain of what people think. I think having these discussions and having an outlet is healthy for us to discuss and share what we feel and see how we can move forward. But we want to have a space where you can talk freely with us and you can share ideas and opinions. And if you disagree with us, that's great. But we want to hear a different perspective because what you will share with us can also allow us to change our minds on things that we're firmly believing. And that is great. That is what makes us learn. That's what makes us get better and grow to the next level because I want to be exposed to ideas that I never thought about that I'm currently against because I might change my mind, but I'm an evolving person. We're all evolving. Let's not just stay stagnant with our beliefs. Sometimes a new idea could spark a new interest and take a different path and to stay malleable. But hope you enjoyed our episode today. We will see you next week where we discuss land transfer tax, everything that comes with it, things that you need to know about the real estate industry that might sneak up on you at low cost. And we'll definitely see you there. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to the show. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.